A visit last week to so-called alligator Alcatraz, Trump did indeed float the idea of deporting naturalized citizens who have committed serious crimes.
That would be a serious escalation. Trump, I obviously don't agree that we should kick. I mean, people who commit violent crimes should be imprisoned. If they are not citizens and if they're here illegally, they can be imprisoned and then deported. Or yeah, I guess it's a fine thought experiment, and I myself use slippery slope arguments all the time, so I guess I won't really fault Joy Reid for going there. I guess what I would have liked to hear from Representative Jayapal was, well, we would never do that.
Joy Reid called Melania Trump opportunistic, calculated, transactional on live TV, and Trump lost it. But here's the twist. This isn't just gossip about a marriage. What if I told you the way they got together could expose a national security vulnerability? From an Einstein visa meant for geniuses going to a swimsuit model, to whispers about Epstein's plane, this story isn't about romance. It's about power, leverage, and cover-ups.
Ever get a Democratic president, they could say, I don't like Melania Trump. She wasn't born here. She was born in Slovenia. She is a naturalized citizen. She's out of here. And by the way, Ivana Trump, the late Ivana Trump, who's buried in the golf course in New Jersey in Donald Trump's golf club.
That's exactly right. And I think that, you're asking for a level of logic from these Republican Congress members that they just don't have. It's turned into a cult party.
She wasn't an American citizen, and 3 of her children are Don Jr., Eric, and Ivanka. And maybe the next Democratic president says, you know what, I don't like the Trumps. And so we're going to denaturalize all of the Trump children whose mother was a foreigner at the time.
And yes, the genius skill might just be staying married to Donald Trump without blinking. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now, back to the video.
Deported to a prison or whatever is the proper procedure, that's fine. People who are American citizens and commit serious crimes, that is just as serious. And I'm occasionally this focus on the immigration status is getting around our crime problem. We have a crime problem. We can't, I don't think we can denaturalize. I am not up to date on this aspect of the law, but that is the serious solution. Not not trying to deport them, I think. So I don't know why we need to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. So
in many American cities, some of these crimes are being committed by illegal immigrants, but not all of them. And I don't care whether it's an illegal immigrant or a lawful immigrant or a citizen or somebody whose ancestors came over on the Mayflower. I want violent criminals put away.
Joy Reid sat there, straight-faced, saying Melania was opportunistic, calculated, transactional, while Trump's expression tightened like he'd just bitten into a raw lemon. To most viewers it sounded like TV shade, the kind of spicy panel talk that burns up Twitter for a day. But critics weren't treating it like gossip. They were treating it like a political red flag waving on prime time. It's one thing when reality stars throw insults. It's another when a president's personal life starts to look like an open door for influence. In politics, relationships aren't just about companionship. They can be about access, leverage, or debts you never see on paper.
So, denaturalization was something that was almost unheard of, I think, up until very recently.
That's for someone who becomes a citizen and then we're stripping away their citizenship. I mean, possibly that could be done in some of the cases if people. But
I think previously, whenever the suggestion was made at all, which was very, very seldom, the idea was if someone was a naturalized citizen and then committed actual treachery,
commit very serious violent crimes, who came here and got citizenship, and maybe that could be taken away. I guess I'm not necessarily wholly opposed to that.
A transactional marriage can work like a silent contract, where loyalty and favors run both ways. And if one half of that couple has business ties, wealthy contacts, or secrets that aren't public, it becomes a goldmine for anyone looking to pull strings behind the scenes. History is packed with examples of this in elite circles, power couples who used their marriages to secure deals, dodge scrutiny, or gain backroom sway.
So somebody comes from the old Soviet Union, becomes a naturalized US citizen, and then turns out to be a Soviet spy, then you take the citizenship away. No, and this denaturalization argument...
We could take away their right to vote, I guess, is the...
Yeah, well, as
fine.
as happens with people who are born here and
incarcerated
felonies and so forth.
But more importantly, you imprison them.
Right.
We would not send them back to the Soviet Union in this
Right.
case. We would not send them back
Right.
to China. We
Right.
would imprison them.
Right. No.
Just getting the people out of the country is not necessarily and always the point.
That's why whispers about Melania's alleged social stops, like the Kit Kat Club in Europe or the Epstein scene, make some people's eyebrows hit the ceiling. Those names aren't just tabloid candy, they're linked to deep-pocketed networks that know how to work political connections quietly and effectively. For critics, the point isn't whether the marriage is romantic or staged. The point is that such arrangements can be weaponized, making it easier to influence someone who holds nuclear codes.
And the idea of the government using immigration policy to crack down on people with whom they disagree in various ways. The danger, I think, is that the denaturalization element seems to be part of this broader, very, very hard line on immigration.
And just when you think the story is tabloid fluff, there's the strange twist about how Melania entered the country in the first place. Because once you hear the visa story, the whole thing stops looking like a simple love meets money deal, and starts looking like another chapter in how power rewrites the rules. The details make it stranger than anyone expected. How exactly does a swimsuit model get the kind of US visa meant for Nobel Prize winners and world-class surgeons? That's the question critics keep throwing around. The so-called Einstein visa is supposed to be for people with exceptional ability in science, art, business, or athletics. Think Olympic champions or researchers working on a cure for Alzheimer's. It's not usually the paperwork you hand to someone whose resume includes a couple of fashion spreads and a calendar shoot. Melania's career before meeting Trump wasn't nothing, but it wasn't the kind of global impact stuff immigration officers normally look for. Modeling in Europe, some runway work, the occasional magazine feature, sure, it's work. But extraordinary in this context is supposed to mean you're at the top of your field worldwide, not just in the top 20 of Slovenian bikini models. Unless, of course, your field suddenly expands to include high-level patients with a man like Trump. Honestly, surviving Donny diapers for decades without a visible meltdown might actually be tougher than splitting the atom. And here's where the transactional marriage theory slides back into the conversation. In most cases, you can't just sidestep the strict merit criteria. But if you marry into someone with political pull, money, and lawyers who know the right doors to knock on, the process becomes, let's say, flexible. Critics don't just see hypocrisy here. They see a neat little example of how institutions bend like wet spaghetti when power is involved. Online, the reactions have been brutal. Memes suggesting her extraordinary ability was picking the richest possible American to marry. Tweets nominating her for a gold medal in eye-rolling during Trump speeches. It all plays into this bigger picture. Rules aren't sacred when the right last name is on the form. And when that much power is floating around without real checks, you don't just get special treatment, you get cover-ups waiting in the shadows. From a snarky TV jab to a visa meant for geniuses, the Melania Trump saga shows how image-making can twist national institutions.